She stood alone at the defendant's table, her trembling fingers gripping a stack of dog-eared papers. The air was thick with tension. Whispers bounced off the polished wooden benches where strangers sat to watch her humiliation. On the other side, a sharply dressed attorney in a $1,000 suit leaned back in his leather chair, a smug smile tugging at his lips. His name was Patrick Lane, a man known for winning at all costs. He'd mocked Alicia openly from the moment she walked in, his tone dripping with condescension. "Your Honor?" Patrick sneered, flipping through a pristine folder. "This case is a waste of the court's time. Ms. Brown clearly has no evidence, no credibility, and frankly, no chance." Alicia swallowed hard. Her heart pounded in her ears, and for a brief second, she almost believed him. She was a single mom, poor, exhausted from fighting a battle that seemed impossible to win. But deep inside her bag, beneath old receipts and a fraying wallet, was a single document. One piece of evidence she'd been holding on to like a lifeline. Patrick didn't know about it. The judge didn't know about it. And in less than an hour, Alicia's life and Patrick's reputation would change forever. Alicia Brown had never been in a courtroom before. She wasn't a lawyer, wasn't a professional speaker, and definitely wasn't someone who'd ever imagined she'd be standing before a judge, defending her right to be a mother. She was just a woman who worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on. A woman who took buses to get her son, Elijah, to school every morning, sometimes in the biting cold of Chicago winters. But this wasn't just any case. This was a custody battle that threatened to rip Elijah away from her. Elijah was only 6 years old, a bright little boy with curious brown eyes and a laugh that could light up a room. He was all Alicia had left, and now his father, a man who'd abandoned them years ago, had come back into the picture. Armed with money, influence, and Patrick Lane, a ruthless attorney who made his living crushing people like Alicia. This story isn't just about a custody case. It's about power, about a system that favors the wealthy, about racism that hides behind polite smiles, and about a single mom's fight to be heard when nobody in that courtroom thought her voice mattered. Alicia grew up in a rough neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. Her mother worked as a housekeeper. Her father had left when she was just a baby. By the time Alicia turned 16, she was working at a diner to help pay bills. She met Marcus, Elijah's father, when she was 19. Marcus was older, charming, and had a way of making her feel like she mattered. But that charm didn't last. The relationship quickly turned toxic. He became controlling, verbally abusive, and eventually, he walked out, leaving Alicia pregnant and alone. For years, she scraped by. She cleaned houses during the day and worked night shifts at a nursing home. She barely slept, but she never complained. Every dollar went to Elijah's clothes, his school supplies, and the small one-bedroom apartment they called home. Meanwhile, Marcus built a new life. He got a high-paying job, married into money, and reinvented himself as a respectable businessman. He never called, never sent child support, and never visited his son. Until now, Marcus had suddenly filed for full custody, claiming Alicia was unfit to raise Elijah. And with Patrick Lane as his attorney, Alicia knew this fight would be brutal. Patrick had a reputation. He was slick, arrogant, and ruthless in court. He'd been featured in local news articles as a shark lawyer who specialized in tearing down opponents. He didn't see Alicia as a person. To him, she was just another welfare mom he could humiliate to win. But Alicia wasn't as helpless as she looked. Because while Marcus and Patrick assumed she had nothing, no money, no influence, no leverage, Alicia had something far more dangerous: the truth. The first day of the custody hearing was brutal. Patrick strutted into the courtroom like he owned the place. He didn't even glance at Alicia as he slammed his briefcase onto the table. "Good morning, Your Honor," Patrick said smoothly, flashing a smile at Judge Whitmore, an older man with silver hair and an impatient glare. "Let's not waste time. This case is straightforward. The child's father is a stable, responsible man who wants to provide a better life for his son. The mother, well, she's unemployed, lives in a dangerous neighborhood, and has a history of poor decision-making." Alicia flinched. That wasn't entirely true. She worked part-time jobs, but they weren't enough to impress someone like Patrick. Patrick continued, "We have documented proof of her financial instability, photos of her apartment building. Honestly, it's shocking she's raising a child there." He turned to Alicia, his smirk widening. "We're here to save Elijah, Your Honor." Alicia's hands shook as she clutched her papers. She wanted to scream, to defend herself, but when she spoke, her voice came out shaky. "Your Honor," she said softly, "I may not have much, but my son has everything he needs. He's loved, he's safe, and—" Patrick cut her off. "Safe? In that part of town?" He chuckled, shaking his head. "Ms. Brown, with all due respect, this isn't about love. It's about stability. And frankly, you can't provide it." The courtroom laughed quietly. Alicia's face burned. Patrick leaned closer. "You're wasting your time here," he whispered, his voice dripping with mockery. "Give up. Sign the papers. Let Marcus raise Elijah. You'll be doing him a favor." Alicia bit her lip hard, fighting tears. But she didn't speak. She just tightened her grip on her purse. Inside it was the evidence that would turn this entire case upside down. On the second day of the hearing, Patrick was merciless. He called witnesses to testify about Marcus's wealth, his perfect home, his stepwife's impressive career. Then he turned his attention back to Alicia. "Ms. Brown," Patrick said, standing tall, "is it true you've been evicted before?" "Yes," she admitted softly. "And is it true you rely on public assistance?" "Yes." "And is it true," Patrick pressed, his voice rising, "that you work as a housekeeper? You clean other people's houses for a living?" The courtroom murmured. Alicia could feel their judgment like a weight pressing down on her shoulders. "Yes," she whispered. Patrick smirked. "I rest my case, Your Honor. Clearly, this child deserves better." Alicia felt her stomach twist. She glanced at Elijah, who sat quietly with a social worker in the back row. His wide, scared eyes met hers, and something inside her snapped. She stood slowly, clutching her bag. "Your Honor," she said, her voice trembling but growing stronger with every word. "I'd like to present new evidence." Patrick scoffed. "Evidence? What evidence could you possibly have?" Alicia reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. Judge Whitmore raised an eyebrow. "Proceed." She handed the envelope to the bailiff, who delivered it to the judge. Inside was a series of documents, bank statements, emails, and photos. Photos of Marcus with another woman. Emails where Marcus admitted he didn't want Elijah, only custody for appearances. Bank statements showing he hadn't paid a single dime of child support in 6 years. Patrick's confident smile faltered. "Your Honor," Alicia said, her voice steady now, "Marcus isn't doing this out of love for Elijah. He's doing it because his new wife can't have kids. He's using my son as a trophy, and I have proof." The courtroom gasped. Patrick lunged forward, grabbing the papers. "This is outrageous," he barked. This is hearsay." Judge Whitmore scanned the documents, his expression hardening. "Mr. Lane, these are bank-certified statements and authenticated emails. This is damning evidence." Patrick stammered, "Your Honor, this doesn't—" "Sit down, Mr. Lane," the judge snapped. Alicia's heart pounded as the judge continued to read. The courtroom was silent except for the shuffle of papers. Finally, Judge Whitmore looked up. "Ms. Brown, did you acquire these documents legally?" "Yes, Your Honor," Alicia said firmly. "Marcus sent these emails to me. I kept every message, every receipt, every piece of proof. He abandoned us. He never cared about Elijah. And now he wants to take him away because he thinks I'm weak." A tear slid down her cheek, but her voice was strong. "I am not weak." Patrick's face was pale. Marcus looked like he'd been slapped. The judge slammed his gavel. "We're taking a recess. Mr. Lane, Mr. Daniels will reconvene in an hour to discuss sanctions and custody." When the judge returned, the courtroom felt different. The smugness was gone from Patrick's face. Marcus wouldn't even look at Alicia. After reviewing the evidence, Judge Whitmore said, It's clear Marcus Daniels acted in bad faith. Custody remains solely with Ms. Brown. Furthermore, Mr. Daniels is ordered to pay back child support and legal fees. Alicia gasped softly, tears spilling down her cheeks. Patrick's jaw tightened. He knew he'd lost. His reputation, once spotless, was now tarnished by this humiliating defeat. Marcus stormed out of the courtroom, slamming the door behind him. Alicia knelt beside Elijah, hugging him tightly. "We're going home, baby," she whispered. The social worker smiled warmly. "You did good, Alicia." For the first time in years, Alicia felt something she hadn't felt before: power. That day, Alicia learned a lesson she'd carry for the rest of her life. Power isn't always about money. It's not about fancy lawyers or big houses. Real power is standing your ground, refusing to let anyone silence you, and holding on to the truth even when everyone doubts you. Patrick Lane walked out of that courtroom humiliated. Marcus never dared to challenge her custody again. And Alicia, the single mom they all mocked, became a symbol of strength to every parent who's ever been told they weren't enough. Sometimes the quietest person in the room is holding the loudest truth. So the next time someone underestimates you, let them. Because when you finally speak, your truth can shake the world. If you were moved by Alicia's story, hit like, share this video, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. And remember, justice doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes, it looks like a tired single mom with the courage to fight back.